Okay. Finance IT Committee, October 5th, 9:15 a.m. Amanda, could you call the roll, please?
Aaron's.
Here.
Hall. Bowers.
Yes.
Geiger.
Yes.
McGinnis. Watts.
Here.
McTaggart.
Here. Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. We have a motion to approve the agenda. Mr. Geiger, second by Mr. Bowers. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Public comments? None. We'll go to Myron Munyon and Liability Insurance Committee.
So we've got the updated application, we're processing that. Pretty much that's where we're at on that. As soon as we get it back, we'll let you know what the numbers, what the renal numbers are. And then we'll go from there. And we're, for the board's request, we're breaking it down by department. We'll have that information for you guys as well. And in discussions with the carrier, the work comp this at this point is good. So it kind of offsets the other parts of the policy. So it would be our recommendation, actually my recommendation, that we don't quote out the work comp this year, and let's see what the premium comes back at, because that gives a little leeway if we have to make up some ground and we have a good mod on your work comp, which is good. So I feel if you separate that out, it could be a premium driver for the rest of the commercial policy. That's my recommendation.
And work in quote though, I thought somebody was interested in getting us work comp quote.
Yeah,
Compass?
well, no, it would be another carrier that we use, and the guy that was all excited about giving us a quote left to go somewhere else.
Really? Is he from the down south area?
No, he was up north.
Okay.
His name is Bob Woodard, and he was with the local there. They do a lot of fire districts work out, and I was working with him, and we had discussions on it. And then I pushed it into Bob's corner and said, you know, what would happen if we separated off the work out? You know, because I just wanted to know how it would affect everything. And in his opinion, because your work comp is good, that gives them a little leeway in case we have some increases somewhere else. So, I mean, I can still quote it out at your request, but my recommendation would be to leave it go until next year.
Okay. Anybody have anything else? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Susie?
All right, everybody has their packet in front of them. This is our Homestar Insurance renewal with Blue Cross. I want everyone to take that first page and just rip it and throw it away. Because guess what? We started out at 21.41%, but we got rate relief, and we are down to, this sheet shows 12.7%. If we will get another percent off the rates once we sign the benefit program application, that just confirms we're renewing the life and the vision with them. Those rates have not changed. So we will have a final 11% renewal that I will get to the numbers to Amanda and Jill, but another percent will come off of this. Now, we have high claims, so that's what really has driven that. I did include our high claimants in here as well, just so you guys could see. The first page shows the medical claim expense distribution, and then the second page of that shows the high claimants. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 of them, ranging from high claims are anywhere 50,000 and higher. So we have, our lowest is at 51, but our highest is going at 389,000, and they're still enrolled and still ongoing. So that is just, that's really what has driven the renewal. I'm happy that we were able to get it down to the 11%, which those revised numbers, like I said, will come once we have the signed EPA. I did meet with Amanda and Jill yesterday just to kind of go over things. We looked at different options, but really with the savings, there wasn't much savings by doing huge changes or anything like that. So we wanted, they seemed to be okay with that 11%. It was within the budget. Any questions or thoughts on that?
That's what we had. I guess where were we at on the budget?
I had 10 in there. I adjusted it a little bit, so we're fine budgetary wise from what I sent you guys already. I was hoping to, knock it down,
I know.
but I mean, the way that we currently have budgeted, we should be fine unless we go on a hiring spree.
And there is just one change. We have that HSA plan that's currently at a $2,900 deductible. With regulations with the HSA, that goes to $3,100 as of January 1st. There's nothing we can do to change that. That's just the regulations with the HSA plan. So that does go up to $3,100. Okay, but overall, the dental then is the only other renewal we have for 1/1, because everything else is gonna, or for 12/1, I should say, sorry. Everything else is going to be a multi-year rate guarantee. Our dental did go down overall, so that's good. We have, so I just have it laid out here, what the current is per tier, and then what the renewal is, and it's going down. We do have our open enrollment meeting scheduled for Thursday, October 19th, and Friday, October 20th. I'm gonna get a sheet over to Amanda and Jill so they can get it out to everyone, so they can see what the plans are, and everyone will have, be able to see what it's gonna be per paycheck before coming to the meetings. Any questions?
Shoot, no. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Mr. Bernie, area-wide.
Morning. So I think that right now the big thing I passed out was the secondary internet connection. So pricing I gave to you guys from Connexus, which is a different provider than what you have now for fiber. I put a line at that's the speed that we need to be at minimum, and you guys can pick whatever you like to in the budget, but that is where the minimum we need to have a failover. This will be, so your firewall is going to handle all the failover. So if your first line goes down, it will automatically switch over. However, we can't do two of the state programs. We can't get access to them. I had a conversation with them to see if there's any way, but it has to be a state line, which is 911. It's a LEADS program, and I'm going to butcher it, but I'm pretty sure it's IVRS or ITRS.
ICN, what?
The program.
We do have IVRS.
That's it.
But all of our election has to be on the ICN.
Yeah, and that's the only thing you couldn't get to on this secondary line. There's no way the state's gonna allow it. They won't even let us touch their router without being like an employee or a state background check with the state police and stuff, so. The only thing we'd have to manually change, which takes about 20 minutes, is just flip what they call DNS over to make email work. But this will basically keep Eric and other phones and important web-based applications working.
Okay. And when we've had all these outages, these guys were up and running during those times?
I think that most of the time, I think they're, so I asked for a fiber map and I didn't get it from them, but I believe they're coming up Route 1 instead of over from 74 and down this way.
They're coming from 57.
They come in 57, okay.
Up and over, so it's a different way to get here.
Yeah.
AT&T comes down cable line,
Okay.
let's say, and they come up 57. Now, we had outages at Connexus down at the 57, 74 interchange construction.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the same time that this one was.
Yeah, so your AT&T I believe goes back towards like Champaign is the way their fiber map comes for your connection. And then this one will come, I believe, they're coming from, I think Connexus is 57
Right.
down.
Okay.
I mean, there's always a chance. I mean, with construction, I just, I don't think
Just
that.
making sure they're not on the same whatever, because that would defeat the whole purpose.
Yeah, it's totally two different fiber or companies, totally different. They have their own fiber. They're not written or leased and off anything because the FCC has the guidelines where you can actually, another company can rent the last mile of fiber if they had to, but it's their own independent fiber. So
If we sign this contract, then somebody decides that we need to go to a higher speed, will Connexus allow us to?
you can always upgrade with no extra cost. Yeah.
So this is per month? Or
Yeah. So there's 36 month pricing, and then there's a 60-month pricing. So there's a small installation fee if you do the 36 months, and then if you do 60 months, they pretty much waive the installation fee.
That's per month, the installation?
No,
No, just a one-time fee. One-time fee.
Okay. We have, I guess, Joe, I assume we don't have anything like this in the budget?
No.
Eric, does this meet your needs?
Based on what Bernie's saying, quick change to the email, which will be important to the fire and EMS side of it. Separate fiber line coming in, all the better. I'm on board with what he's got for you, so as long as it,
Are we okay doing the cheapest one since it's a backup?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
we don't,
Yeah, so I kind of did some utilization of what you're using.
if where you put the line is what
Yeah.
I mean.
You're not quite, so it's 250 meg, or is it 200 meg down and 50 meg up? So really, we're not worried about the download speed. That's perfectly fine. That's the upload speed, and you guys are using about 35 meg right now. So that gives us some buffering room.
So you're saying,
as far as the voice over IP, I apologize. Voice over IP phones,
Mhm.
will that carry over easily enough?
We're gonna have to work with the vendor. Obviously, there's some configuration that's gonna have to be done, but we'll work with Router Technology. There shouldn't be any reason why we can't work with the VoIP system with the Router Technologies.
Okay, will that be a manual process, or are we hoping for an automated?
I'm hoping it's automated. I just don't know on their side what they do. If they've got it specifically routed toward one IP address, they might have to flip it like an email. But that just takes 10 seconds. 10 seconds.
Because that's another challenge that you'd have to deal with, and that would be countywide with your voice over IP phones. But
Most of our VoIP,
most of our other phones, if they were down for 10 minutes, probably isn't bad.
Right.
But your world might be a problem.
I'm a little more impacted for it, but usually our outages when they do hit a fiber is anywhere from 8 to 12 hours. So if they hit it early enough in the day, that's the whole business day kind of shot in the foot.
all the VoIP provider phone systems that we've worked with or we support and do, we've never had an issue with what internet IP address you use. So I don't think they're gonna have an issue, but there is cost in there to test that out and make sure to get that configuration right, work with them. So we'll get all this configured. If you guys sign off on it once it's in place, we'll get it all configured and we'll actually do a failover.
Are we thinking 36 months or 60 months?
Say do the 60, we're not gonna get any cheaper. Right, I think we avoid that fee. You're saying, my line's kind of in the middle here. Are we saying the 200 is sufficient?
Yeah. So the 200 and 200 by
Where you
50.
drew my line, not
Yeah.
a little, it was right.
And then below is, you can go below that, it's always better.
I don't know.
I'll make a motion that we go
Doug,
with,
you know about this stuff, you think that's,
No,
you don't seem to know more than what I know that, but.
it's the best alternative that's been brought to the table, and we need to do something. We can always, Connexus, I think, is our decent people that are malleable and we can work with if we need to alter the speed, so.
I don't know, Connexus is, Metro Communications actually bought Connexus out, or is kind of Connexus's home and business now kind of company. But they're basically on the backbone of Metro Communication out of Sullivan, Illinois. And we use them a lot for our other customers, south of Champaign and rural areas. And I can't say they've been fantastic to work with, so. Better than AT&T and better than another company, so.
Did you get a second on that?
No, so you're saying that 60 months, 200 mega,
Yeah.
200 down, 50 up?
Yep.
Okay. Second. Any other questions or comments?
I will call this gentleman and get a contract for you guys, so I'm sure that.
Do we know how long this is, what kind of time frame are we?
There's the fibers here, they'll have to, 60 days typically, 60, maybe 90 days on build out. But you got the fiber here, I'm not sure where the closest, what they call mid is around here. They'll have to bore the fiber up to the building.
It has to go before the full board before. So that'd be next Tuesday before we get the final.
If I get that contract, can that get on the agenda for next Tuesday, or is that too late?
Yep.
Okay, well, I'll call them today then.
Sounds good. Okay, so we have a motion to approve the Connexus backup internet for 200 megabyte up and 50 red light down, for 60 months, along with the area-wide installation costs. I guess if there's no more questions,
What is that acronym MRC, 60-month MRC?
what's MRC?
Monthly recurring charge.
Monthly rate.
Okay.
Very good.
Is there an amount associated with what you just said?
It is $299 a month,
And what about the installation?
$2,500.
I can get a copy from you, that's just curious. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Call the roll.
Aaron's?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Bowers?
Yes.
Geiger?
Yes.
McGinnis?
Yes.
Watts?
Yes.
McTaggart?
Yes. Okay, motion carries. And I guess that's gonna be. Need $6,088 in the budget. Well, will that be,
About this year maybe?
I guess realistically, when will we start getting charged?
You won't get charged till by they light it up, so you're probably maybe first of the year or sooner, December 1st.
So
We got the
but the
money.
year fee will be after that's done?
Yeah, we can't do anything until that, we get that connection from them.
Joe, should we pay them this year or does it matter? I mean, area-wide or we find either way?
Yep.
Then let's just put it in the budget for 24 then. Okay, so we need to add that. All right. Anything else, Bernie?
That's it right now.
Do we have any other questions for Bernie while he's here? Okay, thank you. Department head reports. Mr. Stacy.
Well, in terms of financial news, we were able to resolve the senior services billing, so, senior services billing issue that we had. So we got some more money flowing in, that was caught up in the wheels. Flu season, so we have bought a lot of flu shots and we are administering flu shots. So money out and then money in. Let's see. Late last year, we received a new grant, our second version of the mass vaccination grant, and that immediately told us that we might have to do another budget revision for the health department. As we're getting closer to the end of the fiscal year, we're crunching numbers, and it may just so happen that we may not have to. We are going to look at that again closely every week, and consult, of course, with Ms. Johnson about whether or not we have to. It's a lot more work. If we have to open up the health department budget, which we did last year, we had to. So I'm hoping to not have to be able to do that. One problem is that now we have to pay for COVID-19 vaccine. No one gets it for free. No provider gets it for free anymore. So we're looking at those prices, and it's well over $100 a dose just for us to pay for it. So we are seeing how that works out. And it's all kind of up in the air because you can't even administer a dose yet without standing medical orders. Even though you get it private pharmacies, we're not allowed to give it yet. So, in short, we're looking at the end of the fiscal year and trying to make sure we wrap up in a neat bow.
Very good. Mr. Stacy, or Mr. Go again. The other, Raymond.
We're, ETSB met last night, we got our budget on point, there's a couple of quick changes which I'll discuss when we get into budget hearing side of the house. Nothing has really in large scale changed. The request for the public safety tax is just moved over to the joint dispatch side of the house, so this way the county's paying itself and Jill can just do journal entries. If the committee decides that, we can give additional public safety tax funds. Thank you for making a decision on the backup internet, and now that we can get that wrapped down, we've got a few months out, but I'm glad we've got to a decision on it. And so here, recently we did a test on the health department's generator, which assisted us in determining what battery backup problems we had in the server room. We found out that there are two sets of plugs. One set is run on just regular power as it's coming in. There is another set inside of that server room that does have generator power. So we were able to move the UPS from regular power to backup power, so we won't have a disconnect of the same nature if power ever goes out again. Okay, that's all I've got.
One question, and I'll briefly bring up that we sheriff put together a meeting, John and I went, talked about this whole radio thing with Motorola and Starcom versus this digital platform. And I don't know if we want to get into, or whatever. My one question on that was, are these digital radios, if and when they would have to be replaced, so I guess a little background. There was talk about a Motorola Starcom option. It was really expensive, and then potentially this, but probably a better system by all accounts, by far, but really expensive. But and then using digital radios similar to what the Watsika Police Department has recently done, and upgrading that way and putting up some new infrastructure throughout the community to help get us better coverage. I guess down the road, I know those Starcom radios were, if we had the $1 million or whatever we needed to, or $2 million I think it was, that we needed to pay to get that up and going, $400,000 or $500,000 of that was just the radios, I believe, it's rough numbers. And obviously that's included in there, and hopefully they last a long time, but down the road, you might have to buy more expensive radios. Was one of the concerns, I think. What is the actual cost of the radios roughly? Are they proportionally about the same price of radios is what I'm getting at?
Not a chance. A Kenwood radio, not Starcom Kenwood radio, but a analog digital radio is right about $600 right now per radio. That's mobile. It's about $800 for a portable.
So we're talking like 40 grand instead of 400 grand or something.
Okay, so the 5200s, which is what Sheriff is running right now, and what he needs to upgrade some other radios to, is about $1,000 a piece. Is that the 5200? Is that the one that goes in first? No, that's the portable. That's the portables. What problem? $1,250 for a mobile, which is the ones that goes in the car. So each car,
We're
each
talking
mobile,
about
each
10% of the
needs
cost.
a-
I mean, roughly, we're gonna be 10-15% of the cost of a Starcom radio.
As far as radios are concerned, absolutely. I mean, when you're talking about Starcom, I mean, Motorola produces a really great product. Hands down, there's nothing that I can do to argue with that fact. Motorola produces very good products, whether it's Starcom, whether it's their radios, etc. They do produce a good product. Kenwood also produces a really great product. It's a little bit more cost effective. Kenwood can also go on to Starcom, so they do have a radio that's available to do that. That's a $6,000 radio. And then you still have your same monthly fees that you would normally have no matter what radio you go to. If you are in Kenwood, I believe the monthly fees do go up a little bit per radio. Now, the biggest problem that we have right now is we do not know what it is going to cost us to spin up a Kenwood system if we decide to just go a digital system. We should hopefully know by the end of the month, maybe, probably closer to sometime in November. So really this conversation can't get very far until we know what both of the sets of numbers are. If Kenwood comes a lot closer to the $1 million mark, depending on what needs to be done, we may have a very different conversation of which direction we can head. If they come in at $500,000, from a cost perspective, it's a lot easier to make a decision.
I think that similar to what we talked about last month was there's a lot of good information, and Starcom clearly sounds like it would be the ideal way to go. Problem, as we've talked about in this meeting before, is it's really expensive for, it's a big investment anyways. And what I was asking the question about was, we don't know what the initial cost and setup for what this digital, maybe not quite as good of a.
It's a robust system.
It's a robust system, but it doesn't have all the options and abilities that the Starcom probably would. Is that
Both are
fair?
very robust. Starcom gives you statewide coverage where we spin up our own system and get local coverage.
And that price is locked in for 10 years. The monthly price is
The market price. Starcom's right.
It'd be nice if you, whoever's talking over there, if you present the pros and cons or the costs in a manner that's easily to
I think
understand.
once they get the stuff from the digital one, then they can do that. We're probably jumping the gun a little bit.
So we're waiting for the coverage study from Kenwood. And once they give us that and we're able to identify the towers that we can put these repeaters on, the problem is these are line of sight microwave units. And if you don't have big enough towers, if you don't have line of sight, it's not going to work. And if it doesn't work, I mean, we might as well just keep the system we got.
Agreed. Anyways, yeah, we're probably jumping the gun a little bit because we don't know all that stuff yet. Okay, Sheriff then.
We did take delivery of the total of 3 Tahoes from Raleigh's. So we got the one that is up and running and operational as of I believe yesterday. And we sold. So we sold two Impalas and a Trailblazer. The Trailblazer had about 140,000 miles on it. That was one we had bought from Iroquois Paving years ago. Radios, the Starcom versus digital. Kenwood is getting us the pricing. Basically, we own our system or we lease our system. So if we own it, we're responsible for putting up the towers, maintaining the generators, all that type of stuff. If we go with Starcom and there's an issue, we call and say, hey, this isn't working, and they fix it. Because other entities are relying on those towers as well.
Just one question back to you right there is, with the Kenwood, if they say the coverage site needs 6 towers in Iroquois County, that means we'll need to maintain 6 towers in Iroquois County, and we'll have to have generators backing up 6 towers in Iroquois County, et cetera,
So
right?
you could be $1.5 million per tower on a Kenwood system
I
that
think
you have to build
what
out.
they said in the meeting was, that's all true, but their initial intent, they're wanting to try and do
It's micro.
four, kind of one in each corner they're at firehouses that already have backup equipment. There probably wouldn't be a rental fee.
Okay.
With the hope that if those four would do it alone, that there really wouldn't be tower costs per se.
So the first tier, like Michael was saying, they're gonna do the coverage map on those towers. If that looks good, that's maybe a lower cost option. If it doesn't look good and they've gotta build the system out a little bit more, it can be comparable to the startup.
Exactly.
So, and the price of the radios goes up because of the system they would build out, as they're explaining us.
Same
Because-
Kenwoods would go higher price because of the build out, okay?
Right. We're currently testing another push-to-talk system with Verizon, and it's actually been working pretty well. Yep. So before the system was, they had us hook this box up to a portable, but when you put the portable in a charger, it caused interference and buzz, and that just wasn't working. So we have another radio, a mobile radio, that we got them to fashion a plug for, got that running, and it's been working great. So I was using it yesterday. It's just a push-to-talk phone. You push the button and you talk, and you're talking over the sheriff's main frequency. So that would be $4 a month on top of each cell phone bill. So on our system currently, that works great. Starcom has another system, it's called the Wave app, works the same exact way. So, the X-ray scanner at the courthouse, we should have it either this week or beginning of next week. We did get a comparable quote from AutoClear, and it was just under $30,000, $29,773. We just received our reimbursement check from the state from the DCFS contract on the 19th of September. That was $60,695. So we'll be getting the monthly checks from them for $10,000, a little over $10,000 a month. We received our reimbursement check from the training going back to Deputy Kokenberger and McCurry. That was $26,057.63. And IPMG, or ICRMT, our insurance company, they have paid over $33,000 of our training expenses and policy upgrades and all that. The no cash bail started on the 18th. We're seeing a decrease in population. Currently, I think we have 14. I looked this morning. We've been averaging 22 to 24, so we're going to see a lot more people get brought in the back door and released out the front door with a notice to appear, even on some offenses that we would normally held them for. So everybody that is arrestable is being arrested and brought to the jail. So driving suspended, driving revoked, we're still hooking them up, towing the car, and getting them to the jail, and then they get released from there. DUIs, simple battery, generally is going to be catch and release, unless there's aggravated circumstances or there is other threats towards a specific person. So that's going to be a change. So other than that, everything is good.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Kurt? Second tax collection is done. We're working on doing our second distribution, I think, next week. And then publishing names and stuff in the paper for delinquent tax people, because we're gonna have our tax up again in the month on the 30th in here. So we've had some good interest of people wanting to come buy taxes, so that's a good sign. But, I mean, not a good sign that they want to buy taxes, but hopefully we won't have too many. Hopefully we'll have most of our people get paid up before that happens, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
3.
I had 2 new employees start and they're still coming back. They came back this morning even, so I'm still excited about that. But other than that, nothing much to report.
I am working on the 2 ADA tentative abstracts for IDOR. Once those are done, I'm about half done with the townships. I'll have a better idea of what our taxable EAV is. So kind of share the numbers where I'm currently at with Jill, so she knows those numbers.
Very good. Okay, Jill?
Most of my stuff is already included on the agenda. We'll have to make some changes to the budget numbers, obviously, after today, and then I will have, it ready to present to full board for it to be approved for public viewing. Audit is all complete. The only thing left to do is there in final review for our cipher report, which needs to go into our GATA system, so we're in good standing with our grants. Hopefully that'll be wrapped up. Hopefully by the end of this week they'll wrap up their final review, and then I can just click the button because I already have it all entered. So just kind of waiting on that. That's all.
John, anything?
Last month, at the board meeting, we approved the contract with the telecommunicators pending receipt of a new copy of our contract, which has come in, and yesterday got it signed and turned over to the county clerk for it's all done. Still have not gotten the contract for the ASME people. Been told that it's in the works, so as soon as we get that, we'll be bringing it forward, but probably be at the November meeting.
All right. We'll move on to the next item, which is the budget. So Jill sent out the revised budget. Jill, where did we end up? Just trying to look through.
Sorry.
Okay,
You're asking where we ended up with
the general fund.
the general fund? Okay, so, but I'm gonna make, we were in the positive $7,819. I only had one, department head reach out to me. Zoning inspections would like to increase their budget. It is currently at 21,000, they want to increase it to 24,000. So is that a change you would like for me to make, cause that'll knock it down 3,000, so that'll put us down to
I thought
4,800
those were
deposit.
offset, aren't those supposed to be offset by the fees, permitting fees? I mean, that should be a net zero. 'Cause I just had to get one and they made me pay money so the guy can come out and look at it.
Yeah,
I mean,
no, I get what you're saying, I'm just talking about for budgeting purposes, we want to look at increasing that number and increasing the expense line, or do you wanna leave it at 21,000?
I don't know that it really makes a difference if it's a
One
net
thing we
zero.
need to do is from the zoning side, we need to get, and we talked a little bit about it at the meeting, about having, what is our expenses and our revenues based on our permitting fees. And I can't get that number easily, so maybe you have it, I don't know, but all I know is so far this year, we're over $26,000 in fees. So if it goes like it is for next year, I don't know how we can say $24,000. And that's where, without figures, I can't,
I guess, are the fees covering the expenses at this point? Right.
Let's see, building and zoning fees. Building and zoning fees are put in currently for next year's budget at 45,000. That's the number I received.
What are they this year, can you tell?
Yeah, give me a minute, I can look them up.
That's what
The
we're at.
fees are 45 and she's one, the expense would be 24 is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
That's what she's requesting.
We're at 26 already, John. And that's been a month ago.
Well, a lot of it depends on how much it's going on too, which that makes it ebb and flow, and some of it, I don't know that we know, because I feel like I got the feeling, and I'm not on tax and zoning, that she's charging more fees than maybe what we're being charged in the past. I don't know that, I guess.
have a clue, right?
Okay, so for her current building and zoning fees collected for this year, we are at $47,314 for this year. That we've collected.
3 to say that.
That, what has been collected up to date for FY '23 is $47,314.
And
That's what the report looks like it, so we'll work on it. Well, then, based on that, we should be okay with whatever we say.
well, but that's, she's not wanting to change the fees, she's just wanting to increase the
She just
expense.
wanted to increase the expense line.
So she would increase budget.
So that would take down,
That would change your $7,000 to $4,000.
but then we got $6,000 for this internet.
We got other things to talk about in here, because of the jails at $70,000 for food for the prisoners. And that's up, where you have less prisoners, so I mean, there's, if we went through this thing, we can.
Okay, let's, I guess, yes, let's do that.
Okay,
Do what you
I need
said,
to adjust that to 24,000.
Adjust that, adjust for the internet.
Eric Raymond handed me his 911 and joint dispatch. What I need to know there before changing the numbers is public safety tax. Are you wanting, I emailed the committee back early September with the chalkboard, diagram on the bottom of the public safety tax, and, I guess I just need to know what the final thoughts were on what we're gonna do with public safety tax.
Yes, she emailed it to all of us, back
The corrective numbers.
on the 13th.
I can make copies quick if you'd like. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I can make copies of the public safety tax fund if you'd like.
So is this different than what,
No, Eric had requested $157,500 for joint dispatch and $150,000 for 911. what Eric had explained earlier
Yeah.
is that he so graciously just requested it all to be put into joint dispatch. That way we don't have to cut a check and move money that way with just one journal entry. And then he can lessen his amount of 911 funding going into joint dispatch and just uses 911 funds for his radio. So the increase to the joint dispatch request is 307,
3075.
3075.
It was the 13th of September. Moral of the story is, at the end of the year, we're at like 1217. This is,
Yeah, the projected ending balance for FY '23 is the 1.27.
And if I may, the $300,000 that the ETSB is talking about for the radio system is specifically the dispatch council that is at 911. This is nothing to do with the Starcom Kenwood radio system that we're discussing in the outside world. This system is, obviously we always have our decisions of want versus need. This is not a system, or the council is not something that I want to upgrade. This is a system that we need to upgrade. And this is regardless if we go Starcom, if we decide to increase our system. The costs for that system on the outside world are going to be what they are going to be. The council will work with either side of the house. Whether it's Motorola, Starcom, whether it's the Kenwood system that if we decide to go that direction, whichever. Again, Michael came down after the last meeting and he kind of saw what was going on with the system. There's a lot to it. Long story the short of it, the computers that are sitting at the councils are Windows XP. Good news is they're not hooked up to our network, but anybody that knows anything about Windows XP, that is multiple revisions backwards. Bernie can attest to this. You don't want to be running Windows XP. That means the computer is old. How long is it going to be for it to die? Whether it's going to be a day, month, week, year, I don't know. But we keep pushing the envelope, and we've been pushing this envelope for quite some time. The system is 15 years old. If you talk to most IT, anybody, mission critical equipment should be replaced and updated every 5 years. Yes, you could push it down the road a few more years down the road if need be, but generally when it's mission critical, it needs to be updated soon. Now, if the council goes down, I don't want to have to explain to you why one of sheriff's men or women got caught and died. I don't. And I don't want to explain that to the community, nor the family and friends. That is the real need that we are dealing with here.
that's. This is where you're at. I heard what you were saying here. Okay, so at the end of fiscal year 23, so year end 23, plus the 24 revenue, we'll have 1,217,000. And then, so that's how much money, if we spent nothing out of the public safety at the end of 24, we would have 1.217 in there. But what's being requested was $500,000 for the joint dispatch, which that was the thing that we approved, a 5% increase on everybody's joint dispatch contribution. How many?
No. 126,000 is the 5% increase that you approved to come out of the general fund.
Of the general fund.
This is
public safety.
public safety.
This
That
is the
that is
5%
being
increase.
requested to subsidize joint dispatch salaries. The 157.5.
Yeah, this was, but we approved, we had an agreement back in March.
For,
last
yeah,
year.
for the,
It was done at the same time,
Earlier this year when we were meeting with the city of Watseka.
because last year it was Last year it was 150,000. 23 it was 150,000, and we agreed that the county, Watsika, and public safety would contribute 5% more, which was that number. So that number's been there for,
From the beginning, yes.
It's 121.
121,000 is the sheriff's request, which originally it was like 200 and some, but we took the cars out because they're in this year's budget coming out of the public safety. So those numbers are already out of,
All of his vehicles.
basically,
Yeah, if you look at
his
the sheet
original
I sent
request
you
was what,
back in
like
September,
240 or 50 or something?
it lists that as the balance on the
Like 49.
vests. The sheet I sent you back earlier in September, it says balance on the vests after sheriff uses grants. It allows for 1 new officer equipment, 1 new officer training, which is half reimbursed, central square maintenance, flock cameras, which there are 3, and then 1 vehicle to be purchased with equipment. Which comes out to 121,530.
Well, the one vehicle, there were 3 vehicles, he was requesting 3 new vehicles, but the one of the 3 he just received was from last year. So we're pulling ahead 2. We
Right.
pulled ahead 2 into this year, and the 3rd car he just got was already in the budget.
And then also in that same
got
spreadsheet,
one
it's
for
worked
next
in
year.
your 2 vehicles.
Right here. So he just received 3 cars.
Yeah.
1 was from a budget that was already approved.
Yep.
He requested 3.
Yep.
So 2 of those cars are being pulled forward into 23.
Yep.
So there's 1 that still remains.
Comes out in there, right?
Right, that's in the 121,000, along with the vests and all that stuff.
21,000.
Does that make sense? Okay, that's what that number is. So what, I guess, I mean,
So those are probably.
I guess we got probably 2 things. Is it, 1, sheriff gets this other car that he was requesting, is probably the big one, along with the other things he's requesting, which seem, are mostly maintenance-y type things, the central square maintenance system on that system, vests, and this car. I mean, that's the bulk of it. And some training. There was some training for the new officers. That's what this is in the 121, which I guess could be debated. And then this 150,000 is what Eric is talking about. He was originally requesting that we move that money to ETSB to help cover this radio console that he just explained. It's really old technology. And now instead of doing that, he was gonna reduce the amount ETSB contributes to joint dispatch and public safety instead of just 150. Instead of giving it to ETSB, it's kind of left pocket, right pocket thing, but ETSB would contribute less to joint dispatch, the 911 would, or the public safety would contribute more, but it's still the same number of dollars moving, it's just
Right,
in a
right.
different way.
So, yeah.
But the moral of the story is that 150,000 is for the radio console. Just the way we shift the money is a little bit different than what we do.
You asked about the sheriff's, if he was going to have a car. I guess I had a question concerning the sheriff's department. I noticed the maintenance of auto went up by 60%. And I don't know with all these new cars why our maintenance would greatly increase. Yeah, because they should be covered under a lot of warranty. And I'm just trying to find savings legitimately. That's on page 3 of her latest push out. And I know what's driving that, who to ask about that. Hey, Sheriff?
Are the guy right there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I noticed in your budget ask you upped your maintenance of vehicles by quite a bit. Just didn't know for sure with buying these new cars if it doubled the budget from last year. Your actual, I don't know. Joe, when did you populate the forecast column of today's document?
That was
Must've been a
the
while
one I
back.
posted, that was the end of August, yeah.
a while back, yeah, cause there's some, yeah.
Yeah, I'm always, when I forecast, I'm always a couple months behind because I have to wait for the treasurer's office to balance and then have all the journal entries put in, so it's usually always a month. Depending on how behind they are, which right now it's just a little behind, 2 months right now.
So part of the reason on that was, we'll still have 4 two-person units, we're gaining on that. But, so for the oil changes, it's $600 per vehicle per year for 14 vehicles times $600 per year is $8,400 for oil changes. That's on a one-person vehicle. On a two-person vehicle, we double the miles, so that's $1,200 a year, $6,000. So that's $14,400. Brakes and tires, Doug figured 14 roughly brakes and tire changes total. That's $2,000, that's $28,000. And then miscellaneous random repairs, if we have a transfer case or something go out on a 2019 Tahoe, that's not covered under warranty. That figures out to be $28,000. That's why the total was $70,400.
Yeah, I just, the instant math doesn't work out, because do we actually add any vehicles to our fleet?
We did.
Quantity?
We did.
We have 2.
Here's the numbers if you'd like to see them.
Well, no, I understand your numbers, but I'm just confused on how the budget can take up such a big leap by doubling when we didn't double the vehicles. And what we did add our new vehicles.
Well,
I know oil changes and tires, I understand that.
We went along quite a few vehicles for the last 3 years. We had to do a lot of maintenance and repairs to some vehicles, and I didn't want to get caught in that position where we have a vehicle sitting, but we don't have the money to put a transfer case in or a transmission.
Right.
So
We still have a lot of old vehicles too, right?
we have 2 Impalas, 2015s, I believe, 2015 or 2016. So we're phasing those out. Our next oldest vehicle is a 2019 Tahoe. Yeah, the Explorer is 2018 and it's 7,000 miles. And that's a one-person vehicle.
I'm just trying to be fair to other departments and
Yeah.
us.
I would just say, I think my opinion is everything you're saying, I don't think anybody disagrees with. Obviously, we need to do all those things, and if a transfer case goes out, we don't want the car sitting there kind of thing. And I don't think anybody has a problem with that, but I know there's undoubtedly gonna be incidentals, but maybe we could pare that down just a little bit to cover some of these other things. I don't know, if we took 10 grand, there's 28,000 for the incidental type stuff. If we took 10 grand out of it with the notion that, look, we're not gonna make you have a car sitting on the side of the road not being in service. If there's a problem and we're running out of budget money just,
Same way with
it's not gonna be an issue.
the diet for the prisoners. If our prisoners,
Well, before we move on, so just so I understand, the maintenance of autos is currently budgeted at $70,400. You wanted to take that down? Is that what you're
If
saying?
that's okay,
Well,
Clint, I would say we move it down 10 grand at least.
how about having a temporary list of fudgeables that we can see, we need to get a balanced budget, correct?
We currently have one.
Well, we still got some incidentals today
Right.
to talk
Yeah,
about.
but it's not, we are in the positive 7,000, so even if you had Julie's 3,000 on, you're down to 4,000. And what I was gonna say with finance is I don't have anything in for system upgrades for next year, but I do have a placeholder of 45,000. So all I'm gonna do with finance, I'm not gonna change the bottom line number. I'm just gonna adjust the system expense down and then increase the service contracts up to include the backup internet costs. So the only thing that's gonna be changing so far is the additional 3,000 to zoning inspections. That still gives us a positive of,
Probably need to talk about the tax assessor side of things, because I don't think there's much money in there for any expenses for her for travel. Like it's at $500 right now.
well,
And-
right now,
We have a new person that's, I think we need to give her a chance to do her job. This has nothing to do with Eagle View or Vanguard or anything else, it's just her travel expense.
And I talked to Mia about increasing her mileage and travel, and we did increase it to 1,500, which was shown on your sheets that you received.
Yeah, I talked about meals, but we got, switched over, we'll talk about this then, that's fine. Mine still says $500. I got last night. So.
Should say 1,500, so I'll take a look at that, but I do have 1,500, maybe
So.
that's why I send these out for review, so
That's what I'm
everybody can
saying,
get
is
back to me on it.
A paper of what we're planning instead of her going through and we'll forget what we did, maybe. We'll change this. Back to you, Sheriff, we got the $91,000 for food. It looks like diet of prisoners, isn't that food for them?
That's correct.
But that went up from, budgeted of 91 for 23, actual is 72 at, whenever she did this. So that might be about right, but if your number of prisoners are gonna go down a little bit, is the hospital, seem like they're gonna stay at about the same rate? that
Yes, I've confirmed that they're gonna stay at the same rate, so.
Yeah. There could be a fudge factor in there, maybe a little bit.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, instead of having 24 inmates, if we've got 14, that's 10 less meals, for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Sure. Well, there's another fudge factor, if we need a fudge factor. So we can balance this, because we still waiting on insurance to come through. That goes in the budget too, insurance alone. So, if we get any surprises, this is the place to go to.
Right.
And I don't know what the rest of the medical expenses is.
That's if anybody's arrested and in custody.
That's fine.
We got a $50,000 bucket for that. We've never spent $50,000. What's your thoughts on the arrestee medical expense
No, that's
bucket?
fine, yeah, I didn't.
So when they're in custody, we have to pay for their medical expenses.
Right.
Previously with the cash bail, when they bonded out, we had $5,000 of their money in the circuit clerk's account. At the end of their case, we were able to take that $5,000 and be able to pay ourselves back for the medical expenses that we've put out. So now with no cash bail, we're not going to have that pot to draw off of, and we may get 2% per month on our medical expenses. The guy's gonna come in and say, oh, I can only pay $10 a month, Judge. And so he's got a $2,000 bill to us for his medical, and he can pay $2 or $22 a month.
Another reason to release him, I guess, huh?
Yeah, they'll be coming breaking into your house.
Okay, well, just trying to go through things to see fudge factors, we'll call them.
The inmate medical, it was a little bit more this year, but, if people are sick in the jail, we've got to take them to the hospital.
Right, it was zero last couple years on budget.
Out of the general,
I don't know, whatever you sent me,
is that 210 at the top?
110 at the top.
Yep, so that's of the general fund, so I've explained that before. In the past, the sheriff has used their arrestee medical
Right.
fund for like 2 years, and then that means that they had a zero balance in the general fund, but his medical arrestee fund is no more, so it has to come out of the general now, maybe for a year or two to put that back.
So that 50,000 is pretty, we better keep that then.
It's hard to tell, I mean, it's just, it's a guess, because depending on how the laws change and what he has in custody, it just kind of depends. So going back, just so I don't miss anything, because I'm the one that has to make the changes. So for maintenance of autos, we had it 70,400, you wanted to take that down 10,000?
I don't know that we necessarily need to, but I think Doug was just mentioning, I think where are we at on the the liability insurance? We don't know what the final number is that the only one?
We don't, but we already changed that to 300,000 to be on the high end.
Right.
So if anything, it's gonna come in under, and that's not in the general fund, that's not in the general fund anyways, that's its own separate fund, that would be a levied fund.
So we should be okay.
Because, I forgot that is,
Okay.
So I'm
That's not the
not
general.
making any changes.
I just leave it like,
Okay.
That's fine.
sorry for that. But we do, I guess, the moral of the story is here, there may be if something comes up between, there's probably a little bit of fluff in there is what hopefully, we don't have those expenses, I guess would be the way to look at it, is that hopefully,
Yeah, and I mean, if we had a
Those
crystal
are
ball,
high.
it'd be perfect. You just gotta keep in mind that we do our very best to try to get the budget to be a guideline. Towards the end of the year, like I had said before, coming up here in the next month, I'll make some suggestions on things that we'll need to adjust for FY 23's budget. So if we need to, it's always something that can be done to open the budget and change some numbers, but ultimately looking at each department's bottom line and making sure their bottom line stays under budget so that we stay on track for a final budget. So, and I'll make whatever changes you'd like, I just need to be sure what I'm doing.
Thank you.
I think we're probably okay on that. I think general fund, we should be good, right?
Yeah, like I said, if I make the one change now, Mia was just talking to me about possibly making some changes. In that case, we may need to look at something, decreasing maybe 10,000 on the sheriff's. But, I know I have to make the one change to the mileage and travel to 1,500.
Okay.
And then Mia, was there something else?
There was, so at the end of the day yesterday, well, to start off, I interviewed a WEX employee, Workforce Development Act, and the gentleman's gonna come start working hopefully in 2 weeks. I was gonna put him at the desk of Danielle, who's on leave. Well, I was told the end of yesterday that she plans on returning in January. So bringing him in and then not having a computer for him to work on is kind of, it doesn't work. So I was wondering if we could get another computer, laptop that I could then also work remotely with, something to be able to utilize the WEX employee come the first of the year if Danielle comes back. There's the possibility of maybe asking ARPA for the money if it's in conjunction with, no, okay, never mind.
Not for one computer. And what I would suggest, and what I did just suggest to Mia, and we were kind of having a second conversation, is she doesn't have a laptop to work remotely with. So if anything, it might be a good idea for you to purchase a laptop to work remotely. I know a lot of the department heads have one, and that way you'd have it for yourself, and then this WEX employee, you don't know how long you're gonna have him or whatever the case may be.
Right now, I think it's 260 hours, so I'm looking at 4 or 5 hours a day, 3 days a week, hoping to utilize him in the implementation of these programs that we're gonna.
The last laptop I think that was purchased, the whole setup was less than 2,000, so.
Do you have money in your thing? Can we take it out of that?
You want me to give you some more of my money and put it
Was
somewhere
there any money
else?
left over from this year in somebody's bucket?
Yeah, no, it would be fine, I can adjust it to where I had on.
Just take it out this
the
year's.
Assessment, oh, for this year?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can do it this year.
There's contingencies, yeah, that are not spent.
Yeah, you can do it this year if you wanted to,
Right.
we're just talking for FY 24 budget.
I know, I'm just,
Yeah.
maybe we just do it now.
Just get it done.
It's-
Prices are
We
going
don't have
up.
to adjust the budget. Get that. Okay,
Only, I'll buy you a computer and go.
all right, so then the only, what else? Is that it for the general fund? So basically $1,000 in her budget for travel is the only adjustment we're gonna make, Joe?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Well, that for travel and then did you say the 3,000 for zoning?
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, so that's gonna put you positive like $3,000.
That's fine. We know,
We're still in balance, we're positive, so.
okay.
And then do you want me to make no changes then to public safety? We're still gonna do
Well, I think we need to talk about that.
the 307, okay, next,
So
that's.
general fund, that's what that is.
Okay.
Okay, I think everything else other than public safety is pretty much resolved, then, right? So, we're back to this, so, to your point, sheriff does have money potentially in the general fund that's maybe a little high, but there is a car in there, and, that's and all the different things we already talked about. So that number, we all got emailed what's in that number, that's been his request, other than the removal of those 2 cars. Something else. regardless, that number really hasn't changed for some time, other than we pulled some of that into this year, because Jolly had the cars. This has been kind of the staple of what I'd say the other. Eric thinks we need the radio consoles, or they feel that we need to update this system, and it's gonna cost $300,000, and they're asking the public safety to fund half of it, is the moral of the story.
Well, it's the beginning year. You said here at the end of 24 revenue was 1.2 million.
No,
What-
this is year-end 23 plus the 24 revenue, this is the ending balance.
What's the beginning balance without the 24 revenue? I guess I'm saying, where do we stand?
So without the 24 revenue on the sheet that I sent you guys back in September, it was listed that a projection of $546,965 would be there without the 24 revenue.
Say that again.
And if it would make it easier, I can print these off. It's projected that at the end of FY '23, we're gonna show a $546,965 balance.
Because you don't have the expenses.
But you took out the
The
sheriff's,
revenues is 547.
you took out the sheriff's already purchased cars for this year, correct, out of there?
Why not?
Does that come out?
Yeah, that's correct.
So it'd be like 737.
So we'll end out about even better than we were at the beginning of the year, I guess.
We'll add 40, 50 grand. And I think she's being pretty conservative on that number. I would bet that number's at least 50 grand higher than that. I mean, at today's levels. So we would end the year at 737. We'd take in 480, giving us 1.2 million. And then here's the request, sheriff's, the standard thing, public safety for the last however many years has been giving for joint dispatch. And then we would give if we approve it, we give half of the $300,000 for the radio console.
Joint dispatch gonna ask for more percent, around the board, do you think, this year? We need to think about preparing for.
Not sure for next year it's gonna go up.
You need to decide or figure out when these radios.
This is the funds that would help.
Potentially, because there's not really too many other spots to get the cash from. So, excuse me, you're again. Yeah, exactly. Yes, so there is the whole thing, if we get a whole new radio system, whether it be Starcom or this Kenwood solution,
Where's that come?
probably the public safety. I mean, I don't know where else it would come from.
Do we have any idea what your payments are on this?
Starcom is like 30 grand
A year?
ish, 30, 35, yeah.
That's all? Well, I mean, once we get it.
After the 2 million, yeah.
I come more than that.
It was like 35 grand is what I wrote.
Well, that's fine. I just didn't know how much we'd have to come up.
315,800.
A year?
No,
The yearly fees, they let us spread the payment.
That's what I was asking.
2 million over.
Yeah.
But I don't know about that number.
Right, that's fine.
But the annual fee that we got to pay.
Get a bigger phone.
10-year plan was 237,280.
3,000 annual maintenance. Excuse me?
Is that a month? $237,280.
I don't know that number, John, but yeah, that $2 million can be broken down and financed.
I figured, what I figured out was what the total cost is gonna be for the 10-year plan versus the 7-year plan. How much we would be paying in interest.
Right.
The 10-year plan was gonna cost us about $140,000 more per And if we adopt it 7 years.
So yes, there's, how would we pay for it, whether it's financed or somehow we magically pay for it all at once, I'm not quite sure how we do any of those. There's,
One idea that I had, and I guess I should know the answer to it, but I can press myself off the top of my head. But we have a lot of county funds that add up to quite a few dollars. I'm wondering if there isn't some way that we can borrow money out of one of those funds. Paying us back, we're still gonna have to pay it back.
interfund loans. I know there's some weird rules around that, I believe, but nonetheless,
That's an option.
that would be an option because I remember Starcom guys actually said he's taking a lot of the financing rates actually, it's only like 3% or something like that. 1.99. I mean, the interest rate's really low. But he said I heard him say in the meeting, he said the reason why it's so low, and they're trying to make it attractive just to make it cash flowable, well, that's not a word, but I'll say it, was they were taking a lot of discounts that they could purchase and putting it in the financing, basically reducing the interest rate. I would take that as if we could do what John's saying and
Lower the rate.
and loan to ourselves for as low 1.99 if that's the going rate for radio loans, or whatever, or nothing. I don't know what the rules would entail, but if we could borrow from some of these funds that are just sitting on money, point being, then we might be able to go back to Motorola and say, okay, we don't want that. Give us just move that discounted money back to the actual program.
Right, what's the cash price?
You understand what I mean, Clint? He was, because he said he was taking all the big discounts they had and putting it in the finance program, is what he told me. I don't know if he said that to everybody, but they were using that money trying to make it a more attractive financing rate so we could spread it over 10 years. But if we borrowed the money internally, then in theory, we should be able to go back to them and say, okay, we don't want to borrow the money, we'll pay you all today. Now give us more discount for getting the cash up front. I believe they would be open to that based on this comment, or there's not.
So the 5-year cost for airtime fees is $170,000. That's for the radios, the LTE, everything. So it's
When I come up, we were doing the math over there, it was roughly like 33,000 a year, so that would,
right in there.
whatever, it'd come right up to, we're in the ballpark of each other. There's about $33,000 in annual fees a year with Starcom. 35, whatever, somewhere in that neighborhood per year to just make.
And with the Starcom, with this P25, we're able to apply for federal grants. Where, with the system we have currently, we're not able to, because since 9/11, the government wants everybody to be able to talk on these radios.
Right.
So if these are P25 compliant, we can apply for these grants and pay that down even quicker.
Because they even said that there's a bunch of grants, there's grants available for fire departments, and there was some ambiguity
There are
on that,
small grants available for fire departments.
so that they could get access. Long story short, I guess we gotta wait until we get all the numbers, but
Fire
moral of the
departments
story is,
today are still on their own for their own radios and equipment today, so that doesn't impact any of the county
Yeah, our
costs
stuff.
or ETSB costs.
right, that's not our cost, that's their issue, but we need to be considerate that they need to probably communicate as well, but there might be some.
Well, if you keep in mind, right now, the discussion that we're dealing with, whether you go Starcom or this other, or the Kenwood system.
This is
This is
independent of that.
sheriff only, or the sheriff main frequency. So this is only affecting PD. We do not have to do anything at all for our fire departments. They can use the system that we have today. We could potentially expand that out instead. But the discussion that you're having is for sheriff main only. This has no impact whatsoever to fire and EMS departments.
Okay, and this also, in theory, has nothing to do with that, is this 150,000.
That 150,000 impacts everybody.
Well, yeah, it's independent though of
But
the
it's
Starcom
independent of the radio
versus Kenwood discussion. Okay,
So what do you need done?
I guess we need to say whether if we're okay with spending this money out of the public safety fund for 2024. That's,
Is that on
and if
our,
not this number, then we need to come up with what number?
I think as long as you increase it, the bottom line, you're not doing anything unreasonable.
Are you talking about this down here?
Oh, yeah, I'm probably jumping in.
Well, no,
Yeah.
I mixed you up, but we still need to approve the budget.
Right, well, this is,
Part of
I guess
it.
there's two line items, but
Yeah, I'm not sure, I think
it's all,
that
it's all
discussion
part
on
of the
action
budget.
of allocation of public, they go hand in hand.
It's hand in hand.
But
I mean, in
think
order to approve the
in the
budget, we need to get the
past-
public safety
Yeah,
budget, right?
in the past, they've tried to put together like a 5-year plan on how to use public safety funds. We have not gotten that accomplished yet, so
Well, the sheriff's listening, so.
And I think that's where the radios come into play, is planning the use of the city public safety money, if that's where we're gonna take it from, we're gonna have to make sure we allow enough.
Well, joint dispatch is always gonna be there, and we're always gonna need to take care of the sheriff. And the console, is that, I heard part of it is that there's gonna be more to the cost of the console replacement besides this 150, because there's something else needs to be replaced too, right, the computers?
That's all gonna be part of the quote. That's what we received a couple of years ago when we did this the last time to even understand what our costs were. So the computer, when I'm talking the dispatch council, I'm talking everything from end to end.
So we won't have any more expenses from you for 5 years, you're saying? That's significant.
I wish that was the case,
That's
but I'm not going to be able to commit to that at this time.
That takes care of everything, but it has nothing to do with the radio system that we talked about independently.
The sheriff's.
Right.
Yeah, well, I agree. We're just trying to do the 5-year vision of what big numbers hit. We're always have to take care of the sheriff or the 100, whatever that figure. Joint dispatch is always gonna be that or more. So trying to fit in the radios down the road. I
Well,
like,
for now, we're trying to pass the budget, right?
we can, let's vote on it now. Cause it's independent of this, but it's,
I think
Well,
we
this is
go
part
with
of the
this.
budget.
I think we go with this the way you have it outlined.
I will also just point out that right now, at today's levels, which again, these are generally are conservative on the revenue numbers.
Right.
That number is maybe as much as $60,000-$70,000 too small, meaning this number would be
Compared to what this year's revenues
850.
are.
right.
versus, I mean, we should be adding
It's less than.
115,000 even after all these expenditures. That number is, I would call, would
We
you
went-
agree,
yeah,
Jill? That's pretty conservative,
extremely conservative.
extremely conservative.
We've been averaging in the anywhere from 44 to 60,000 for revenues. I just projected out.
Motion,
I think it would be
I
something.
guess
one of these at a time.
Going lower than that.
I would say if we're okay with this, this is what is in the budget currently as proposed, or, you know, as it's
Yeah, the only
assembled.
thing I'll have to change is just, instead of splitting it to joint dispatch and 911, just putting it all towards joint dispatch, but yeah.
I guess we could have a motion to approve the budget as Jill sent it with the modifications that were discussed. One being for Mia, her travel and the backup internet
Mm-hmm.
and
Zoning.
Jill in the zoning. I just made that motion, so that'll make it a lot less complicated, so we don't have to say it 3 times.
Your motion is to put the budget on public display for final approval.
Yes,
That
send it to the full board.
You're sending it to the full board to get approval for public viewing.
So we're sending it to the full board. And full board, when they approve it,
And I'll
Yeah,
make those
public viewing
changes
for
and
30
send it
days.
out to the entire full board for them to review. Hopefully today, if not, it'll be in the morning.
Lyle seconds. Any more questions or discussions? If not, call the roll.
Aaron,
Yes.
Alt,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Geiger,
Yeah,
Watts,
Yes.
McTaggart,
Yes. Okay. Audit. Jill, the audit?
Alright, well, you had the audit presentation from Hope Wheeler from CLA, you got paper copies of that. There are circuit clerk copies, which we don't really do too much with that, but they're in your box. I have not gotten paper copies from a single audit, but I did email it out to everybody. There is one paper copy that I printed out, that is up by Amanda or Michael, yeah. But Hope already reviewed it all, it was just a matter of we were waiting to approve it, until we actually had the single audit in hand. Nothing new to go over, it's
I think
all of what
we
was
just have
already
to vote
presented.
to approve it, I mean, I don't know. I guess
Need a motion. So,
we don't need a motion to approve the audit. So, seconded by Mr. Bowers. Any other questions or comments? I think we Hope kind of went through all that last time, so unless somebody's got anything additional from Jill's email. If not, we'll take the roll on that. Roll call.
Aaron,
Yes.
Alt,
yes.
Bowers.
Yes.
Steiger.
Yes.
Watts.
Yes.
McTaggart.
Yes. Okay, motion carries. The next item was discussion on this, which was part of the budget. Kind of already accomplished that. So then we go to the claims.
The claim you had a question about, Doug, is supposed to be to Rooter Technologies,
Okay.
not to Kraus. I already told Lacey about it, so we're gonna adjust that. That was already a pre-approved capital improvement, project from last year for the sheriff to get his phones upgraded.
I knew once we get a black eye for, yeah, different vendor. No problem.
Yep, no worries.
Okay. Second, Mr. Taggart. Any other questions? If not, call the roll.
Aaron,
Yes.
Alt,
Yes.
Bowers.
Yes.
Steiger.
Yes.
Watts.
Yes.
McTaggart.
Yes. Okay. Old business or new business? If not, motion.
I've been at every committee meeting this week reminding people about our meeting next Tuesday and being at the old courthouse. So I want to make sure to do that again. Somebody doesn't show up over here by mistake.
Very good.
9 o'clock on Tuesday at the old courthouse on the second floor.
One thing that might affect finance a little bit is, the zoning side is proposing to have a moratorium on accepting, battery energy storage systems. They seem like they go along with solar farms and windmills, or can, something new on the horizon. We're unsure of some of the, and we need to develop an ordinance for it. So we're gonna ask for a moratorium on that. And it might spill over actually a moratorium on solar and wind. I gotta talk to them, but anyway. So if you have any questions, it might be easier to ask today on, when we bring it up next Tuesday. I didn't wanna slow down everybody's next Tuesday either. So it's just to protect ourselves and our citizens and, see what you can do on the revenue side and some else.
Could you talk a little bit more about that, because this is new to me, what you're saying.
What part of the?
The moratorium on them.
Okay. What's going on is, Tesla is a good example. They have container-sized batteries. And they have like 1 megawatt of energy in this container. And they can place those where they can charge them with windmills and solar and discharge them at night when they don't have any sun. So they place these containers, usually in a group, close to a place they can hook into the grid. Somebody had talked to us informally about putting a solar farm in Iroquois County, which, that's fine. Then they threw in the idea, we thought about maybe bringing in these battery packs, or what we call battery energy storage systems. And there's some questions about location and safety and this and that it's so new on the horizon, there's not a lot of counties with a lot of ordinances on this, especially with distance side of things.
Okay.
We found a National Fire Protection Association pamphlet that we're trying to get our hands on that tries to cite some things. So we're gonna have to develop an ordinance to deal with these vessels. I think it's a good thing, but we're gonna have to protect our citizens, and there's probably a way to get some income, revenue generated from it.
You saying about the size of it?
Negative, a container, semi-trailer. Right. So big.
Thank you.
So, we can talk about that anytime. Thank you.
Okay. Got a motion to adjourn? Second? All in favor? Aye. Meeting adjourned.